When his pulse stopped, I had seconds to decide. My years of experience told me to call it. But then I saw that tattoo behind his shoulder, and everything changed. What seemed like another trauma case became the most disturbing story of my career as an emergency nurse, because that man on the gurney, identified as a shooter in a violent incident, carried a mark I knew too well, a mark I never imagined seeing again. And what I discovered after, well, that will make you question everything about judgment, redemption, and the secrets people carry until their last breath. My name is Laura Brennan, and I have been working as a trauma nurse at Metropolitan General Hospital in downtown Chicago for 12 years. The emergency department where I work is not for the faint of heart. Gunshot wounds, stabbings, overdoses, car accidents that leave bodies twisted in ways you cannot imagine. I have seen it all. I chose this path after losing someone very close to me, someone whose death never made sense. Maybe I thought saving others would fill that void. It never did. That Tuesday night started like any other. The waiting room was packed, families crying, patients moaning, the smell of antiseptic mixed with blood. I was on my 16th hour, exhausted but focused. Then the radio crackled. Incoming trauma. Male, approximately 35 years old, multiple gunshot wounds to the chest and abdomen. Police escort, suspected shooter from an incident downtown. Estimated arrival, 3 minutes. My team moved fast. We cleared Trauma Bay 2, prepped the equipment, called for extra blood. When the paramedics burst through those doors, I saw him, pale, unconscious, covered in blood. His shirt had been cut open, revealing wounds that looked fatal. The lead paramedic was doing compressions. We have been bagging him for 4 minutes. No pulse. A systole. We transferred him to our table. Dr. Chen started barking orders. I positioned myself at his side, took over compressions. My hands pressed down on his chest, ribs flexing under the pressure. 1, 2, 3, come on. Then I shifted him slightly to access the subclavian line, and that is when I saw it. Behind his right shoulder, a tattoo, small, intricate, a symbol I recognized instantly. If this story has already hooked you, go ahead and subscribe to the channel now, because what comes next will surprise you even more. And comment below, where are you watching this from? I want to know. The symbol was a raven with spread wings, clutching a sword, surrounded by Latin words I had memorized 15 years ago. It was not a common tattoo. It was not something you found in tattoo parlors. It was specific, exclusive, etched only on members of a particular military unit, a ghost unit that officially never existed, and my brother David had the exact same tattoo in the exact same place. My hands froze for half a second. Dr. Chen noticed. Brennan, compressions. I snapped back, pushed harder, but my mind was racing. David died 15 years ago, or at least that is what they told us. He was 22, Army Special Operations. They said he died during a classified mission overseas. No body recovered, no details provided, just a flag, a medal, and a closed casket funeral with nothing inside. That tattoo haunted me for years. I only saw it once, right before his last deployment. He showed me, made me memorize it, said if anything ever happened, if I ever saw anyone else with it, I should know they were brothers, real brothers, the kind that would die for each other. I asked what unit it represented. He just smiled and said, the kind that does not exist on paper. And now, 15 years later, here was a man on my table, a suspected killer, wearing that same impossible mark. We worked on him for 18 minutes. Epinephrine, chest compressions, defibrillation, nothing. Dr. Chen looked at me. Time of death, 22:47, but I could not let go. I gave him one more round, compressed harder than protocol allowed, and then a blip on the monitor, a weak, irregular beat. He gasped. His heart was back. Thank you for staying with me this far. That shows you feel the same thing I felt when I lived through all this. So go ahead and subscribe and activate the bell, because what comes now changes everything. I need to tell you about David, not the version my family created after his death, the hero, the golden boy, the real David. He grew up in our small house in Naperville, Illinois. Our parents divorced when he was 10, and he took it hard, started getting into fights, skipping school. But he was smart, sharper than anyone gave him credit for. At 17, he walked into a recruitment office and signed up, said the structure would fix him. It did. The Army transformed him. He excelled in every training program, got selected for Ranger School, then something beyond that, something he could not talk about. His letters home became vague, his visits rare. When he did come back, he was different, harder. His eyes carried something I had never seen before, not fear, knowledge, the kind that weighs on you. That last visit, 2 weeks before he deployed, we sat on the back porch. He drank beer silently, staring at nothing. I asked if he was okay. He did not answer right away. Then he stood up, pulled off his shirt, turned his back to me. That is when I saw the tattoo. He explained it was new, that his unit all got them together. A bond. He made me look closely, memorize every detail. Laura, if anything happens to me, if you ever see this symbol on someone else, you need to know something. They are not your enemy. They are family, even if the world says otherwise. 3 weeks later, 2 officers showed up at our door. Killed in action. Classified operation. No remains. I was 19. My mother never recovered. She died 6 years later, heart attack. But I knew it was grief. I became a nurse because saving lives felt like honoring David. Every chest compression, every life brought back from the edge was for him. And now this man, this stranger, this criminal, wore David's mark. I needed answers, even if it destroyed me. And the man, now stabilized but in an induced coma, was moved to the ICU under armed guard. 2 Chicago police officers stationed outside his room, rotating shifts. I tried to access his chart. Name listed as Marcus Reed. No prior medical history in our system. No emergency contacts. No insurance. The police report was vague. Suspected involvement in a shooting near Union Station. 2 dead. He was found fleeing the scene, wounded. Something felt wrong. I had worked enough cases involving shooters. They usually came with a story, witnesses, clear evidence. This felt sanitized. Too clean. I checked the fingerprint scan we took during intake. Standard procedure for unidentified trauma patients. It came back with no matches. That is almost impossible. Everyone is in the system. Military, criminal records, employment background checks. Everyone. I could not let it go. I started asking questions. Casually, carefully. I talked to the paramedics who brought him in. They said police found him in an alley, alone, bleeding out. No weapon nearby. No witnesses to the actual shooting. One paramedic mentioned something strange. Federal agents showed up at the scene before they even left. Not local FBI. Something else. They asked questions but did not identify which agency they were from. That night, I could not sleep. I kept seeing that tattoo. I went back to the hospital at 2 a.m, told the ICU nurse I forgot to chart something. I stood outside his room, watching him through the glass. Machines breathing for him. Bandages covering his chest. Who are you? Why do you have my brother's mark? Then I heard voices. 2 men in dark suits walking down the hallway with the charge nurse. Federal agents. I ducked into a supply closet. Door cracked open. I heard fragments. Transfer orders. Secure facility. 24 hours. Once stable, he disappears. The nurse asked where. The agent said that is classified. And then he added something that made my blood freeze. Make sure no one accesses his belongings. Everything stays sealed until we take custody. I had maybe 12 hours before they moved him. 12 hours to figure out who he was and why he had David's tattoo. I needed to see his belongings. Patient possessions are stored in locked cabinets in the emergency department basement. I had access, but everything was logged. Security cameras everywhere. If I got caught, I would lose my license. Maybe face criminal charges. But I thought about David. About 15 years of unanswered questions. About the closed casket. About my mother dying without ever knowing what really happened to her son. I made my decision. At 4 a.m, during shift change when the basement was emptiest, I went down. I found the cabinet labeled with his medical record number. My hands shook as I unlocked it. Inside, a black duffel bag. I opened it. Blood-stained tactical pants, a torn black shirt, no wallet, no identification. But there was a phone, encrypted, locked, waterproof case, and beneath that, a folder. Plastic, sealed. I opened it. Documents. Not in English, some in Russian, some in Arabic, code names, coordinates, dates, and photos. Old, faded photos printed on thick paper. My heart stopped. One photo showed 5 men in desert camouflage, faces young, hardened by sun and violence. I recognized one immediately. David. Younger, leaner, but unmistakably my brother. Standing next to him, the man now in the ICU upstairs. Both had fresh tattoos visible on their shoulders. The date stamped on the back, September 2012. 2 years after David's supposed death in 2010. I felt the room spin. He was alive. 2 years after they told us he died, he was alive. Which meant everything was a lie. The funeral, the medal, the condolence letters, all fabricated. But why? And where was he now? Was he still alive? I photographed everything with my phone, returned the belongings exactly as I found them, locked the cabinet, walked out like nothing happened. But inside, I was screaming. Now I want to hear from you. Where are you watching this story from? Write it in the comments. It is incredible to see people from so many places following stories like this. I spent the rest of my shift in a fog. Every time I looked at that photo on my phone, reality fractured a little more. My brother did not die in 2010. He was alive in 2012, possibly longer. The government lied to my family. But why? What happened on that mission? And why were these men living under false identities, hunted, erased from existence? I researched the tattoo during my lunch break, found nothing online. It was not associated with any known military unit, not even the classified ones people speculate about. I tried reverse image searching the symbol. Nothing. This unit was buried deep, deeper than anything accessible to civilians. By evening, I knew I needed to talk to the man upstairs, but he was in a coma, intubated, sedated. The doctors planned to keep him under for at least 48 hours to let his body heal. I did not have 48 hours. The agents were coming in the morning. I made another dangerous decision. At midnight, I accessed his sedation protocol and reduced the dosage. Not enough to alert the monitors, but enough that he might surface briefly. I told the night nurse I would monitor him personally for the next 2 hours. She was grateful. Fewer patience for her to juggle. I sat in his room, watching the ventilator push air into his lungs. Come on, wake up. Tell me what happened to David. After 90 minutes, his eyelids fluttered. His vitals spiked slightly. He was fighting the sedation. I leaned close. Marcus, can you hear me? His eyes opened, unfocused, but open. I saw recognition flicker. He tried to speak around the breathing tube. I put my hand on his arm. I know about the tattoo. I know about the unit. My brother was David Brennan. Please, what happened to him? His eyes went wide. He started thrashing weakly. Alarms blared. The nurse rushed in. What happened? I stepped back. I do not know. He just woke up. She increased his sedation. He went under again. But before he did, he looked directly at me, and I saw something in his eyes. Fear, not of dying. Fear of what I now knew. The next morning, I came in early. The federal agents were already there, processing transfer paperwork. I watched from a distance as they prepared to move him, but something unexpected happened. He woke up, fully, extubated overnight, breathing on his own, alert. The doctors were stunned. Recovery like that from his injuries should have taken days. I walked into his room under the pretense of checking vitals. The agent stood outside, talking to hospital administration. I had maybe 2 minutes. He looked at me, fully conscious now. His voice was hoarse. You are Laura Brennan. It was not a question. I nodded. How do you know? He coughed. Winced. Your brother showed me pictures, talked about you all the time, told me if anything ever happened to him, if I ever met you, I should tell you the truth. My throat tightened. What truth? He glanced at the door. The mission in 2010. It was not what they told you. We were sent to extract a high-value target in Afghanistan. Politician with connections to arms deals. Off the books. No official record. Everything went wrong. The intel was bad. We walked into an ambush. Half the team died in the first minutes. The rest of us fought our way out. Barely. I leaned closer. But you survived. Where is David? He looked away. When we got back, they debriefed us, said the mission never happened, said we would be declared killed in action to cover up the political fallout, gave us new identities, told us to disappear. Anyone who refused died in accidents. Convenient accidents. Your brother took the deal. So did I. So did 3 others. My hands were shaking. So he is alive? Where is he? He met my eyes. He was. Last I knew. But they are hunting us. Someone decided loose ends need to be tied up. The 2 men killed at Union Station? They were part of the cleanup crew. I did not shoot first. I defended myself. But now I am a terrorist. A murderer. And your brother is next. If they find him. And the pieces were coming together, but they formed a picture I could barely comprehend. Marcus explained quickly, urgently. The unit was called Raven Protocol. Unofficial. Deniable. Used for missions that could never see daylight. When the Afghanistan operation failed, someone high up decided it was easier to erase the team than risk exposure. Killed in action. Heroic story. Closed caskets. Families grief-stricken but proud. No questions asked. But 5 of them survived and knew the truth. They were given a choice. Disappear with new identities. Never contact anyone from their past. Live in the shadows. Or refuse and face elimination. All 5 took the deal. For years, they stayed hidden. But 6 months ago, one of them, a man named Torres, decided to go public. He contacted a journalist, started talking about the operation. 2 weeks later, he died in a car accident. Single vehicle crash. No witnesses. Then another team member, Jensen, was found dead. Apparent suicide. Gunshot to the head. But Jensen was left-handed. The wound was on the right side of his temple. Marcus knew then. They were being hunted. He went underground, tried to warn the others. One, a woman named Kath, had already disappeared. No trace. That left Marcus and my brother David. The men at Union Station were contractors. Private military, hired to clean up. Marcus recognized them from the old days. They cornered him, tried to make it look like a robbery gone wrong. He fought back, killed them both, got shot in the process, and now he was here, about to be transferred to a black site where he would never be seen again. I felt nauseous. And David? Where is he? Marcus hesitated. Last I heard, he was in Montana, small town called Whitefish, using the name Daniel Carter, working as a carpenter. But that was 3 months ago. If they found Torres and Jensen, they might have found him too. I tried calling his emergency number 2 weeks ago. No answer. The door opened. The agents walked in. Time to go, Marcus. He looked at me one last time. Your brother loved you. Everything he did, every choice, was to keep you safe. Remember that. And they took him, wheeled him out in restraints. 2 agents flanking the gurney. I stood in the hallway, helpless. Everything I had learned crashed over me like a tidal wave. David was alive, or had been, living under a false identity in Montana while I thought he was dead. And now he might be next on a kill list. I had a choice to make. I could report everything I knew, go to the media, expose the conspiracy, demand demand answers, but that would put a target on David, on me, on anyone connected to this. If they were willing to kill their own soldiers to protect a secret, they would not hesitate to eliminate a nurse who knew too much, or I could do nothing. Let Marcus disappear. Let David stay hidden, assuming he was still alive. Go back to my life, my job, carry this secret alone. But could I live with that? 15 years I mourned my brother. 15 years my mother died thinking her son was a hero killed in service. All lies. There was a third option, the one I could not stop thinking about. I could find David myself. Whitefish, Montana, Daniel Carter. I had savings. I could take leave from the hospital. I could go there, see if he was still alive, warn him if needed. But what if I led them right to him? What if my search triggered something that got him killed? I went home that night and did not sleep. I stared at the photo on my phone. David, young and alive in 2012, standing next to Marcus, both wearing that damn tattoo. I thought about what Marcus said. Your brother loved you. Everything he did was to keep you safe. David chose to let me think he was dead to protect me. Would finding him now destroy that sacrifice? By morning, I had made my decision. I submitted a leave of absence request. 2 weeks. Personal reasons. Packed a bag. Booked a flight to Kalispell, Montana. Rented a car. I did not tell anyone where I was going. I disabled location tracking on my phone. And I drove to Whitefish. Maithikaniro, Whitefish is a small mountain town. Picturesque, the kind of place people go to disappear. I checked into a motel, used cash, gave a fake name. Then I started searching. Daniel Carter, carpenter. I asked at hardware stores, lumber yards, local diners. Took me 2 days. Finally, a waitress at a breakfast place recognized the description I gave. Oh, Dan? Yeah, he does custom furniture. Lives out near Beaver Lake. Quiet guy. Keeps to himself. She drew me a map. I drove out there, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. The house was small, isolated, surrounded by trees. A truck in the driveway, lights on inside. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, trying to breathe. What if it was not him? What if it was him, and he did not want to see me? What if I just ruined everything? I knocked on the door. Footsteps inside. The door opened, and there he was. Older, bearded, weathered by years I was not part of, but unmistakably David, my brother, alive. His face went pale. He whispered my name. Laura. I could not speak. I just stood there, tears streaming down my face. He pulled me inside quickly, locked the door, closed the blinds. How did you find me? Who knows you are here? I told him everything. The man in my emergency room, the tattoo, Marcus, the photo, the truth. He listened, his jaw tight. When I finished, he sat down heavily. They killed Marcus by now. You know that, right? Probably within hours of the transfer. I felt sick. He stood up, started pacing. You should not have come here. You have put yourself in danger. They monitor everything. Flights, car rentals, credit card transactions. If they connect you to Marcus, they will come after you too. But he was my brother, and despite the fear, despite the anger, I saw relief in his eyes. Relief that he was not alone anymore. We talked through the night. He told me about the years in hiding, the loneliness, the guilt, the constant fear. He asked about our mother. I told him she died 6 years ago. He broke down then, cried in a way I had never seen. I am sorry, Laura. I am so sorry. 3 months have passed since that night. I do not work at Metropolitan General anymore. I resigned, told them I needed a change. I moved across the country. I live in a small town now. Different name, different life. And sometimes, when I need to remember why I made that choice, I go to a quiet cafe on the edge of town. I sit at a table near the back, and across from me sits a man with a beard, weathered hands, and eyes that have seen too much. We do not talk about the past. We just sit, brother and sister, alive. And this story that I just shared completely changed my vision about truth, justice, and how far we are capable of going for those we love. And now I want to know, would you have done the same? Would you have risked everything for a chance to reunite with someone you thought you had lost forever? Write your opinion here in the comments. I need to know if you understand why I made that decision. If this story impacted you in any way, subscribe to the channel now. Activate the bell, because every week I bring real cases like this, stories that challenge what you believe is right or wrong. And let the next video play, because the story that comes after this one is about even more impossible decisions. Do not miss it.